Hey everyone, and yet another RCTA video. Hey guys, in this video what I want to run through with you is how to stop the track recoil using RCTA products. In a little bit more detail. I might have done it in some videos, but I'll go into a little bit more detail, particularly talk about these relay units. Okay, now to stop the track recoil using your RX18, one of the best ways to do it is just to use a relay. Now a relay, if you're not really familiar with that, is just a switch, electronically controlled switch. Now you can buy these relay modules. This is a dual channel relay module off eBay for about, as I said, $3 or $4 US. These are 5-volt relays. They'll have plenty of amperage, so you'll have no problems running your motors through them. Now if you look on these relays, you'll see at the top here there's a diagram of how the switches are connected. Now a relay basically has a series of contacts. You have a set of contacts that are always closed, or normally closed. Oops, sorry about bumping that. And you can see that on these relays it is this terminal and that terminal, and on this side that terminal and that terminal. You can see the connection here. So when the relay turns on, this little switch here moves across and connects this middle terminal to this terminal. And that's on this side, this terminal to that terminal, which means this connection between these two terminals is broken. So that's what we want to do when we are wanting to block our track recoil. If you can see the unit I have prepared earlier here, just basically have a wire coming from your RX18, goes into this middle terminal and then this outer terminal. If I was to connect up the other motor, I'd do the same thing. I'd have one red wire coming in here and the other red wire coming out here. We don't need to use these end terminals at all. So that when it's at rest, as you can see here, there's a connection between these two. So power to the motor will flow. When the relay is triggered, this connection is broken and it'll disable the track recoil. So that's how you wire up your motor through your relay. Now how do we turn the relay on? Now with RC5HL, you need to do some special programming on your mixer, or you can do it manually, and you can use here on the RC5HL, I've used switch 1 to switch the relay on and off. Now using the RC5HL is different to how it's done with the MAKO unit. So I'll run through the RC5HL first because that's a little bit easier. Now when you get your relay, you have two relays. It's a dual channel. Now how this relay operates, you'll see 4 pins here. This pin here is your ground supply, V0. This pin on the outer side is your plus voltage. These 2 pins in the middle are your trigger pins. Okay, so this pin triggers this relay, this pin triggers that relay, and they're triggered by a connection to ground. Okay, now with the RC5HL, we're not going to be using the triggers, we're just going to want the relay to come on as soon as we power it up. So to do that, what you do, and this is also for the MAKO, no matter what you do when you get one of these relays, just put a little bit of solder with a bit of wire between these 2 pins. So both relays will operate together. So we want to have the trigger to both times. We want the trigger to happen at the same time for both relays. And if I can flip this one over without doing too much, you can see, get my hand out the road maybe, you can see I've just put a little wire between these 2 contacts. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit different here. Sorry if I take so long on this. Okay. As I said, we've got your triggers here. They go to ground. You have ground here and positive there. So once you've connected these 2, if we just put a jumper between the ground and one of the triggers, that means that we'll get a ground signal all the time. So the relay will turn on whenever we have power supplied to this relay. And that's basically how we've set up the RC5HL. Okay, we have our positive supply, our negative supply, and then we have those two pins. That's, remember, our positive supply. Now we've jumped these two, so there's a connection from ground to this pin, and underneath we've connected this middle pin to that pin. So these three pins are all connected, they're all ground. So if we connect up the power supply to here, as soon as we turn on the power to the relay, it will go on. And that's what I'll show you right now. When we activate our RC5HL, power goes to this switch on for a short time straight away. Well, I didn't actually show that because I forgot I powered it up beforehand. But I will show it to you now when we fire the gun. When I fire the gun, this switch is activated, which will turn power onto the relay and cut the recoil action. So this motor here will have no recoil. This motor here will have some recoil because I've not got it through that unit. So let's fire the gun. So as you can see, no motor here, no motion here. You also notice too when the relay comes on, it's got some lights. And you see we're triggering both of the relays, and there we have it. So that's how we can stop the track recoil with just your your RC5HL. Now, let's just turn the unit off for a second to stop the sound. Okay, there we go. Now, what about our MAKO unit? Okay, I've got a MAKO unit here. Now I will connect him up to our RX18 unit. Okay, there we go. Now MAKO has on here that connection 4 is the one that connects up to your relay. Now with the MAKO, we do actually have a signal being sent, the negative signal, on this orange wire. So to connect up the MAKO, you get a normal servo lead and separate the three pins. Now you can connect the signal pin to either one of the middle two, because remember you've joined those up. The red pin of course goes to VCC, your positive supply, and that means your negative pin, if I can get in there, negative pin will go to your end connection like that. So now your relay is all set to be operated when triggered by the MAKO unit. Now a MAKO unit is a little better than the RC5HL because being IR, it will not only stop the recoil with your firing, but it'll also stop the recoil, the automatic track movements when you get hit with IR, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that as well. So let's okay, let's fire up. Now let's see how the MAKO handles. As you can see, remember we've disconnected the RC5HL. Let's see how MAKO handles the firing procedure. Now, you see how there's a little bit just backwards? Okay, MAKO does have the just a bit back, so... Oh, sorry about that. That's my radio saying I've moved the sticks. So we've got that just a little bit of backwards movement. That's to me, so that's the way probably it should have been done with Heng Long in the first place. So you got what I call jab, just a bit back. See, it's much less movement there. If you've got, say, a unit that you don't have a barrel recoil, just a little bit of movement back, not that ridiculous movement, helps with your, you can see some much more exaggerated movement there. But the thing about the MAKO unit is it will stop your crazy movements once your tank gets hit. So let's see if we can simulate the tank being hit. Okay, you see it completely stops all the movement in this unit. And remember, it'll do the little. You can see how crazy that unit is going. How the automatic track movements are blocked with the unit going through the switch. Now, it's good to go right to the end because the death spasm at the end quite ridiculous. I mean, certainly the tank goes careering out of control into someone else's tank. Bad news. So as you can see, look. Okay, so there we go. You've had, with your MAKO, we'll cut all of the automatic track movements, including your track recoil, but it does give that jab just a bit back function, and it will then completely cut all of your hit and death spasm automatic movements. So that's how you stop those movements, but to do that you will need to order one of these off eBay. As I said, they're only $3 or $4 US, free shipping. They're a great little unit. Even if you don't use them here in this situation, they're always handy to have. As I said, you just cut one motor wire and put through these two terminals, the two terminals that are joined here, and then connect, put a bit of solder or a bit of wire between these two terminals here so that both relays operate simultaneously. Okay, it's been a bit of a long video here, so thanks for watching, and get busy blocking that track recoil.